Okay, let's get right into it. Today, we are unpacking a truly fascinating character study straight from the heart of the Bhakti tradition. In this explainer, we're looking at two pivotal figures, two brothers who actually helped shape a spiritual revolution, Mukunda and Vasudeva Datta. And what makes their stories so incredibly compelling is how completely, radically different they were in their approaches to devotion. One path is marked by sharp intellect, fierce logical debate, and this really dramatic journey of punishment and redemption. The other, well, it's a path of such boundless empathy that it literally changed the way the divine interacted with the world. We are going to explore exactly how these two brothers, hailing from the Katagrama district, left a mark on Eastern philosophy that is absolutely still felt today. Okay, let's dive into this. Here's our roadmap. First, we'll uncover the origins of these two devotees. Then, we'll look at Mukunda, the divine singer. After that, we'll cover his punishment and redemption before shifting gears to explore Vasudev's radical compassion. And finally, we'll wrap up with their lasting legacy. Section 1. Origins of Two Devotees. To really understand who Mukunda and Vasudeva Datta were, we have to look at how the tradition views their cosmic identity. A revered text called the Gaura Ganodesa Deepika gives us this amazing comparison. It tells us these two men weren't just your average brothers who happened to join a movement. No, according to the text, in the ancient spiritual realm of Raja, there were these two extraordinarily talented singers named Madhukanta and Madhavrata. The text explicitly links those past spiritual identities to their present incarnations. It declares they appeared in the Chaitanya Lila, the earthly pastimes of Lord Chaitanya, as Mukunda and Vasudeva Datta. So they were literally destined to be the foundational divine singers in Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's society. They brought this celestial rhythm to an earthly revolution. Moving on to part 2, Mukunda, the divine singer. Let's move to and see how this builds, because Mukunda's relationship with Lord Chaitanya wasn't just, quiet reverence. It was super active. As class friends, they actually got into these fierce logical arguments all the time. The texts describe how Lord Chaitanya would playfully but fiercely fight with Mukunda, using complex tricks of logic just to corner him. Let's track this timeline. First, in their early years, right after Lord Chaitanya returned from a really pivotal spiritual trip to Gaya, it was Mukunda who brought him immense pleasure by reciting specific verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Then, we had this incredible event where Lord Chaitanya exhibited a continuous state of divine ecstasy for 21 straight hours. This is known as the Satta Praharya. And who inaugurated this massive function? Mukunda, with his singing. Moving down the timeline, just a few days before Lord Chaitanya took sannyasa, the renounced order of life, Mukunda successfully pleaded with him to delay it just a little bit longer to keep the Sankirtana movement going locally. He even followed the Lord after he took sannyasa, being right there at Jalaswara, when Lord Chaitanya's sannyasa rod was dramatically broken by Nityananda Prabhu. And finally, for the rest of his life, every single year, Mukunda made an annual pilgrimage, traveling all the way from Bengal just to see Lord Chaitanya and Jagannath Puri. So he was always there at the crucial turning points. But their relationship wasn't without some serious friction. Lord Chaitanya would actually chastise Mukunda occasionally, and quite harshly too. He'd call him a Kajathiya Beta. Why? Well, because Mukunda had this habit of attending functions and mixing with non-devotees, specifically a group known as Mayavadis. Now, Mayavadis are impersonalists. They're philosophers who essentially explain away the personal, relational form of the divine, often studying texts like the Yoga Vasishta Ramayana, which is just full of this impersonal philosophy. So for Lord Chaitanya, who taught a path of deeply personal, emotional devotion, Mukunda's dabbling in these contradictory philosophical circles was, well, it was a major problem. Which brings us to part 3, punishment and redemption. We can break this really brilliant narrative twist down into 4 distinct steps. Step 1, forbidden entry. Because of his mixing with those Mayavadi impersonalists, Mukunda was strictly forbidden to enter the direct association of Lord Chaitanya. Step 2, standing outside. During this massive event where the Lord actually manifested his divine form, the Mahaprakasha, he called all the devotees inside to bless them one by one. But Mukunda, he was left standing outside the door. When the other devotees pointed out that Mukunda was out there waiting, the Lord basically said he was greatly displeased because Mukunda would speak of devotion 1 minute and then go listen to impersonal philosophy the very next. The Lord explicitly declared, "I shall not soon be pleased with Mukunda Datta." Now watch step 3, rejoicing at delayed forgiveness. Hearing this from outside, Mukunda didn't despair at all. Instead, he was exceedingly glad. Why? Because the Lord said he wouldn't be pleased soon, which logically meant that, hey, at some point in the future, he would be forgiven. The sheer joy Mukunda felt at just the prospect of future forgiveness leads directly to step 4, immediate delivery. Seeing Mukunda's genuine, overwhelming joy and understanding that he was going to give up that contradictory philosophy for good, the Lord was instantly pleased. He immediately called Mukunda inside, delivering him completely and granting him the association of pure devotees. And this brilliantly illustrates our next shift in Part 4, Vasudeva's radical compassion. So, if Mukunda's path was defined by logic, arguments, and this dramatic psychological redemption, Vasudeva's path is defined by an astonishing, almost incomprehensible emotional depth. While Vasudeva Datta was staying at Srivasa Pandita's house, Lord Chaitanya was so affectionate toward him that he would openly declare, "I am only Vasudeva Datta's man. He can sell me anywhere." The texts literally state that Vasudeva was such a powerful devotee that the divine was purchased by him. It's a breathtaking concept, really. The idea that supreme absolute power willingly suborns itself to the pure love of a devotee, allowing itself to be metaphorically bought and sold by human affection. And the Lord didn't just say this in passing, he vowed this 3 times so that absolutely no one could disbelieve it. He said, "All my dear devotees, I tell you the truth. My body is especially meant for Vasudeva Datta." Vasudeva carried immense spiritual authority in this tradition. In fact, he initiated Sri Yadunandana Acharya, who later became the spiritual master of the highly revered Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. Vasudeva was a towering pillar of this community. But Vasudeva also had a very human, slightly humorous side when it came to practical matters. He was so incredibly liberal and generous that he spent money extravagantly. He just gave it all away. It actually got to the point where Lord Chaitanya literally had to intervene in his personal finances. The Lord appointed another devotee, Shivananda Sena, to act as his sarakela, which essentially translates to a secretary or financial manager, just to keep Vasudeva's extravagant charitable expenses under control. So the crucial point here is why Vasudeva was so generous, both materially and spiritually. Vasudeva Datta was so profoundly kind to all living entities that he approached Lord Chaitanya with an unimaginable request. He wanted to personally take on the sinful reactions of every single living entity in the universe. He wanted to suffer in their place so that they might all be unconditionally delivered. He was willing to endure eternal cosmic suffering simply out of pure radical empathy for others. It is without a doubt the ultimate expression of selflessness. Bringing us to our final section, Part 5, their lasting legacy. So why does the story of these 2 brothers from the Kachagrama district still matter today? How did their 16th century devotion actually shape the modern tradition? Well, the answer lies not just in ancient texts, but in living institutions. Vasudeva Datta personally established the temple of Marana Gopala in a village known as Mamagachi, which, by the way, also happens to be the birthplace of the revered author Vrindavana Dasa Thakura. And today, this isn't just some historical ruin. The Gaudiya Matha devotees have taken charge of this exact temple, and the Seva Puja, the daily worship and service, is going on beautifully. Furthermore, ever since the great scholar Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakura inaugurated the annual Navadvipa Parikrama, this massive pilgrimage circuit, this very temple is visited every single year by countless pilgrims. The devotion established by Vasudeva and Mukunda is literally walked, breathed, and celebrated by thousands of people to this very day. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a provocative question to really chew on. We've just seen 2 very different blueprints for spiritual life from 2 brothers. So I ask you, which path of devotion moves you more? Is it the intellectual struggle, the sharp logic, and the suspenseful redemption of Mukunda, the divine singer? Or is it the boundless, universe-altering sacrifice and radical empathy of Vasudeva? Both paths completely changed history, but they speak to very different parts of the human heart. Think on that. And until next time, keep exploring the depths of this fascinating philosophy.